Hello, my name is Colton Christian and I'm a junior at Waxahachie High School. For my speech today, I will begin with the process of how we decided what to change, then I'll transition to how we address the needs found, then what the final idea is to address the needs and wants of the consumer and how they'd work in our final design. To find the changes that needed to be made in our consumers' eyes, we interviewed 10 people in our demographic and asked them what they would like to change in our design with some guiding questions. So as you can see here, here's some of the first steps in our process. This is a step-by-step guide of how to turn on or use the flashlight, the original, to compare to the final design to see if we made any simplifications or some complications that we needed to address in the designing process. So here you can see it starts with pick up an open box, open and remove from the box, remove from bubble wrap, pick up the flashlight, flip the switch that allows the handle to squeeze down the handle, let the handle go, push down the handle and flip the switch to keep them there. User flips the switch to turn it on, they shine the flashlight, then they push down the handle and flips the handle brake switch. Then the user puts the flashlight down and puts it away. Over here is a lot of information. So up here, we have a graph that's explaining that these are some of the 4 basic things that we needed, that we thought needed to be changed from the original design before the interviews. So here we have stronger material, quiet operation, brighter lights, and secure buttons. Of course, we needed to measure this from the original to the final design, and here is where we put down how we would measure that. So for the stronger material, we would put weights on the original until it snaps to see if the original could carry more weight from the final. Clearly, we wanted the final to carry more weight so we could prove that it is sturdier than the original. Then we have quieter operation, so we would measure the decibels made from using the flashlight from a certain distance, and then we would measure the final design's flashlight and then compare them. Clearly, we want the final to be better or to be less. Brighter light, we would measure the lumens from a distance. Same thing, we would compare the results from the final to the original. And then secure buttons, we would measure how much pressure it takes to push the buttons on the side versus what we changed in the design to make that better. So we came up with using a stronger material to change the appearance, silence the noise, make the light brighter. They wanted it rechargeable, they wanted the wrist strap and clip to be removed, and they wanted the buttons to be more secure from the interviews. So as you can see here, we have the criteria marked. There's brighter lights, firmer, which is different animals, sturdier material. These are the things they said they wanted. And then we came up with 3 different sketches that address these. So we went through and marked what the different criteria the sketches addressed. So as you can see, Idea A and Idea C both address the brighter light. All 3 of them address the firmer switch. Different animal, 2 of them addressed. Sturdier material, only Idea C. Then at the bottom, we have the total. So the original didn't address any of these, which is what we're trying to fix. So Idea A and Idea C would clearly be what we wanted to reference more in our final design because they had +4 addresses to these problems instead of referencing back to Idea B that only had +2. So we would use those in our final design more. Then we ranked the importance of these changes from how many times they were mentioned in the interviews from our interviewees that were our demographic. So as you can see, use the stronger material was mentioned 7 times. So clearly that would be more important that we rank 25% of importance, or 25% more important than everything else. Here we have appearance change and silence the noise. They were both mentioned 4 times, so they're both 20% important to our consumers that we needed to change. Material good as is, make the light brighter, likes rechargeability, and removes wrist strap and clamp were all 3 times mentioned, so they were all ranked a little bit lower, but still on top, and then there's the other 4. We then decided the best way to address the needs and wants of the consumer through different sketches, and then compare the sketches to see how we address these needs and which part change did it better, as shown on the last slide. For the less noise produced by the crank, we made the camera design made from 3D printing, which would have less friction, heat, and as a result, less noise. The next problem fixed is a different shape and different animal. I decided that we could make the camera into different animals like collectibles, with the main one being a cow to register to our demographic, which was homeowners with children that clearly would end up with the children. Another problem that we decided to fix was that we heard it was too easy to lose or too tiny. So we decided to put a magnet in the bottom of our design that would be able to clamp to refrigerators or a car, that you would be able to find easily in any time that you would need it, like a blackout or you're on the side of the road, and it would be a lot less easy to lose it. That's addressing that consumer's needs. So here you can see our final design. These are all the internal functions of the flashlight that we decided to make. So you can see that the switches are in the legs, and that there's 2 lights here that are in the nostrils and the eyeballs to make the light brighter. The tail crank that would moo to address to our demographic. The crank would be all made of 3D printing, so that would solve a lot of our problems. And then we have here, I would 3D print 2 different pieces of our cow, and then they would snap together. That would be a more manufacturing problem, but it would make it firmer as the consumers decided they needed. And then there's the side view. Here is one of our final designs. As you can see, the eyes and the nostrils are both lights to make the light brighter or just wider. The legs would be the switches, of course, to secure more easily than the original side levers. The tail is the crank that would moo whenever it got turned to adjust to our demographic. And then, of course, it would all be made from 3D printed material to make it stiffer and stronger. And then, of course, the magnet in the bottom would make it stick to things easier and make it less easy to lose and easier to find. So another thing I felt necessary to change was the flimsiness of the switches, as you've seen, and how they could easily be accidentally flipped. I changed the switches to be the legs, where they would turn on and unlock the flashlight. It would be a lot like the original, but they would move from the front to back position, so it's almost like it's walking, but not really. That would make them more stiff and less easily switched. So, to recap, the basic changes done to the original design is these switches are now in the legs. The wrist straps had been removed and replaced by a 3D printed piece that would move to address to our demographic. The whole design is now a cow and comes in a spectrum of different animals like collectibles for the demographic. And now the whole design is made from 3D printing material to address the friction and heat and sound problems. And as you can see here, here's the bottom half of our final design, where we have the new crank that is a lot less bumpy and is made from 3D printed material, clearly. So it would be less heat, less friction, as a result, less sound. And you can see that we have the spot for the nostril lights, and then this is where the tail would go. And yeah. And then here's the 3D model of our final printed design with the measurements. They're not all there, but some of them are. And yes, so this would be the bottom half, and then the second half would just clip on top. And then of course there would be little cutouts here on the bottom that would be separate pieces that just snap in there to make it firmer to address the demographics needs. Thank you so much for listening to me today, and I hope you have a good day.